I never imagined that the man who promised to love me in sickness and in health would throw my belongings onto the front lawn on our 10th wedding anniversary. But there I stood, a 37-year-old black woman watching 10 years of marriage literally scattered across the grass, while my husband's mistress smirked at me from our bedroom window. Let me take you back to where it all began. Marcus and I met in college. He was this charming economics major with big dreams, and I was a nursing student working 2 jobs to pay my tuition. We fell in love over late-night study sessions and cheap pizza. He told me I was his rock, his inspiration, the woman who made him want to be better. We got married right after graduation in a small ceremony that we paid for ourselves. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours. It was real, or at least I thought it was. For 10 years, I supported that man through everything. When he wanted to start his own financial consulting firm, I worked double shifts at the hospital to keep us afloat. When his business struggled in those first 2 years, I never complained about the ramen dinners or the canceled vacations. I believed in him. I believed in us. And when his company finally took off 3 years ago, when the money started rolling in and we moved into that beautiful house in the suburbs, I thought we'd finally made it. I thought our struggles had brought us closer. I was so stupid. The signs were all there, but I was too trusting, too busy with my 12-hour shifts at the hospital to notice. The late-night client meetings. The new cologne. The way he started going to the gym obsessively and buying designer clothes. The distance in his eyes when he looked at me. My friends tried to hint at it. My sister outright told me she'd seen him at a restaurant with a woman who definitely wasn't a client, but I defended him. I actually defended him. Marcus works hard, I'd say. He's building something for our future. Our future. What a joke. The morning of our 10th anniversary started like any other day. I had requested the day off weeks in advance, something I rarely did. I had plans, big plans. I'd bought this gorgeous emerald dress that I'd been hiding in my car, made reservations at the restaurant where he proposed, and even booked a hotel suite downtown for the night. I wanted to remind him of what we had, to reconnect with the man I'd married. Deep down, I think I knew something was wrong. I think I was desperately trying to save something that was already dead. I came home from running errands around 2 p.m., arms full of groceries to make his favorite meal before our dinner reservation. That's when I saw them. Suitcases. My suitcases. Lined up in the foyer like soldiers preparing for war. Marcus. I called out, my heart already starting to race. Baby, what's going on? He came down the stairs, and I barely recognized him. His face was cold, harder than I'd ever seen it. Behind him, wearing MY's silk robe, the expensive one he'd given me last Christmas, was her. She couldn't have been more than 25, with long blonde hair and a body that screamed personal trainer and nutritionist. Everything I wasn't. Everything society told black women like me we needed to be to keep our men. Janelle, Marcus said, his voice flat and emotionless. We need to talk. I stood there, frozen, groceries still in my arms. A bag of tomatoes fell and burst on the hardwood floor we'd picked out together. Neither of us moved to clean it up. This is Amber, he continued, as if introducing me to a colleague at a business function. She's moving in. I need you to leave. The words didn't make sense. They were English, but they weren't computing. Moving in? Leave? Our anniversary? Marcus, what are you talking about? My voice cracked. This is our home. It's our anniversary. I don't understand. I don't love you anymore, Janelle. He said it so simply, like he was commenting on the weather. I haven't for a while. Amber and I have been together for 2 years. She makes me happy. She's what I need right now in my life. 2 years. 2 years. While I was working night shifts to help pay off his business loans. While I was supporting him through his mother's funeral. While I was planning our 10th anniversary celebration. You can't just kick me out of my own house. I finally found my voice, anger starting to replace the shock. We're married. This is my home too. Actually, Amber spoke for the first time, her voice sweet as poisoned honey. Marcus owns this house. It's in his name only. You have no legal right to be here if he doesn't want you here. I looked at my husband. This stranger wearing my husband's face, and waited for him to correct her, to tell her she was wrong. But he just stood there, arms crossed, nodding slightly. "I've already spoken to my lawyer," Marcus said. "I'm filing for divorce. Irreconcilable differences. You have no claim to my business or this house. You'll get whatever the court deems appropriate. But Janelle, let's be real. You didn't build what I have. I did." Every word was a knife. Every sentence was a betrayal deeper than the last. "I helped you build that business," I screamed, not caring any more about dignity or pride. "I worked myself to exhaustion so you could chase your dreams. I believed in you when no one else did. And I appreciate that," he said with a dismissive shrug. "But that was then. This is now. Amber is my future. You're my past. Your things are packed. I'd appreciate it if you'd leave quietly." Amber giggled. Actually giggled. She wrapped her arms around Marcus's waist and looked at me with such satisfaction, such victory in her eyes. "Oh, and Janelle?" Marcus called out as I stumbled toward the door, my world crumbling around me. "Happy anniversary." I don't remember grabbing my suitcases. I don't remember walking to my car. I just remember sitting in the driveway, watching through my tears as Marcus and Amber closed the curtains to our bedroom. The bedroom where we'd made love, where we dreamed about our future children, where I'd held him when his father died. I had nowhere to go. My parents had retired to Florida last year. My sister lived in a cramped one-bedroom apartment. My friends, I'd been so focused on my marriage and my career that I'd let most of those relationships fade. I ended up at a Motel 6 off the highway, the kind with flickering neon signs and questionable stains on the carpet. I sat on that lumpy bed and cried until I had nothing left. Then I cried some more. That was day one of the worst period of my life. I didn't know then that the doctor's call would come exactly 3 weeks later. I didn't know that Marcus's face would drain of all color when he heard what that doctor had to say. I didn't know that karma was just getting started. The first week at that motel was a blur of tears, takeout containers, and mindless television. I called in sick to work, something I'd never done unless I was actually dying. But I couldn't face people. Couldn't pretend to be okay. Couldn't put on my scrubs and care for others when I felt like I was bleeding out from a wound no one could see. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Marcus's name flashed across the screen dozens of times, but when I finally answered on day 4, thinking maybe he'd come to his senses, all I got was his lawyer. "Mrs. Richardson, this is David Chun from Chun and Associates. I'm representing your husband in the dissolution of your marriage. We need you to sign some papers." Dissolution. Like our marriage was a business transaction gone bad. Like 10 years of my life could just be dissolved. "I need to get my own lawyer," I managed to say. "Of course. We'll be in touch." Click. I couldn't afford a lawyer. Not a good one anyway. Everything Marcus and I had built was in his name. The house, the business, even the car I was driving was registered to him. I had my nursing salary, which was decent, but after years of pouring everything into our future, my savings account had exactly $3,247 in it. Enough for maybe 2 months of rent and expenses if I was careful. Not enough for a divorce attorney who could go up against whatever expensive shark Marcus had hired. My friend Keisha was the first person to track me down. She showed up at the motel on day 8 with wine, fried chicken, and a determination to save me from myself. "Girl, you cannot stay in this place," she said, looking around the dingy room with barely concealed horror. "This is not you. This is not how your story ends." "My story ended when my husband threw me out for his blonde Barbie doll," I said, my voice hollow. "This is just the epilogue." Keisha sat down on the bed next to me and took my hand. "Janelle, listen to me. I know you're hurt. I know you feel like your world ended. But you're one of the strongest women I know. You put that man through school. You built him up. And now you're going to build yourself up." "With what, Keisha?" "I have nothing. No home. Barely any savings. A husband who," my voice broke, "a husband who looked at me like I was trash he was taking to the curb." "You have you," Keisha said firmly. "And you have people who love you. You're staying with me. No arguments. I've got a pull-out couch, and it's better than this place. I wanted to argue, to maintain some shred of independence, but the truth was I had nowhere else to go. So I packed up my suitcases again and followed Keisha to her apartment in the city. Living with Keisha was both a blessing and a curse. The blessing was that I wasn't alone with my thoughts. The curse was that I couldn't hide from reality. She made me shower, made me eat, made me go back to work after 2 weeks of wallowing. "You're a nurse, Janelle," she said one morning, practically pushing me out the door. "You save lives. You don't get to fall apart because one man was too stupid to appreciate you."
So I went back.
I put on my scrubs, tied my hair back, and walked into County General Hospital like I hadn't just had my heart ripped out and stomped on. My colleagues were kind but distant. They'd heard through the grapevine what happened. In a hospital, gossip spreads faster than infection. The work was actually good for me. When you're holding someone's hand as they take their last breath, or celebrating with a new mother as she holds her baby for the first time, your own problems seem smaller. Not gone, but manageable. The 12-hour shifts left me too exhausted to think, which was exactly what I needed. But the nights were brutal. I'd lie on Keisha's pull-out couch, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of my marriage, looking for the signs I'd missed, wondering what I could have done differently, hating myself for not being enough. The worst part was the isolation. Marcus had cut me off completely, changed the locks, blocked my number, even removed me from his social media like I'd never existed. Through mutual acquaintances, I heard that he and Amber were living their best life, posting pictures of expensive dinners, weekend getaways, couples workouts. They looked so happy. So perfect. Meanwhile, I was sleeping on a couch, eating ramen to save money, and trying to figure out how to afford a lawyer. My sister Maya called me every day from Florida. "Come stay with us," she'd plead. "Mom and Dad want to see you. We can help." But I couldn't. Going to Florida felt like admitting defeat. Like running away. I'd built a life here. A career, a reputation, friendships. I wasn't going to let Marcus take that from me too. 3 weeks after the anniversary from hell, I finally scraped together enough money for a consultation with a divorce attorney. Her name was Patricia Williams, a Black woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a reputation for being fierce in the courtroom. "Let me be straight with you, Janelle," Patricia said after hearing my story. "This is going to be difficult. The house is in his name. The business is in his name. You don't have documentation of your financial contributions because you were married and probably filing jointly. So, I get nothing?" The injustice of it burned in my throat. "I didn't say that. You're entitled to equitable distribution. You supported him through the building of that business. You worked to keep you both afloat. A judge will take that into consideration. But it's going to be a fight, and fights cost money. Money I didn't have." "How much?" I asked. "My retainer is $5,000. The whole process could cost anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000 depending on how difficult your husband wants to be." I felt sick. "I have $2,100 in my account right now." Patricia looked at me for a long moment. "Let me think about this. I might be able to work something out. Can you come back in a few days?" I nodded, trying not to cry. Again, walking out of that office, I felt more defeated than ever. Marcus had all the power, the money, the lawyers, the house. I had nothing but debt and heartbreak. My phone rang as I sat in my car, trying to compose myself before driving back to Keisha's apartment. It was the hospital. "Janelle? It's Dr. Morrison. We need you to come in immediately. It's urgent." My stomach dropped. "Is someone hurt? Did something happen to a patient?" "No, nothing like that. But you need to come in. There's been a development with your recent blood work." My blood work. I'd done routine testing 2 weeks ago, standard stuff we all do annually at the hospital. "What kind of development?" "I can't discuss this over the phone." "How soon can you get here?" The tone in his voice made my blood run cold. "I'm 20 minutes away."
"Good. Come straight to my office. And, Janelle?"
"You might want to bring someone with you." The line went dead. I sat there, hands shaking on the steering wheel. My blood work. Bring someone with you. Those were never good signs. In all my years as a nurse, I knew exactly what that meant. Something was very, very wrong. I called Keisha, told her to meet me at the hospital. Then I drove, my mind racing through possibilities. Cancer? Diabetes? Some rare blood disorder? After everything I'd been through, was the universe really going to pile more onto my plate? Dr. Morrison's face when I walked into his office told me everything I needed to know before he even opened his mouth. This was bad. "Janelle, please sit down," he said gently. Keisha burst through the door seconds later, out of breath. "I'm here. What's going on?" Dr. Morrison waited until we were both seated. He folded his hands on his desk, and I watched him struggle for words. Never a good sign from a man who delivered bad news for a living. "Janelle, your blood work came back with some concerning markers. We ran additional tests to be sure and—" He paused, his professional demeanor cracking slightly. "I'm so sorry. You have stage 3 leukemia." The words hit me like a physical blow. Leukemia.
Cancer.
Stage 3. That's not possible, I heard myself say. I feel fine. I'm tired, but I've been stressed. The divorce, the fatigue, the bruising you mentioned during your checkup, the night sweats, they're all symptoms, Dr. Morrison said gently. This is acute myeloid leukemia. It's aggressive, but it's treatable. We need to start chemotherapy immediately. The room spun. Keisha grabbed my hand, squeezing so hard it hurt. "How long have I had this?" I whispered. "It's hard to say. Possibly months. Maybe longer. But Janelle, we caught it.
We can fight this." Fight. I was so tired of fighting.
"What's the prognosis?" Keisha asked when I couldn't find words. With immediate treatment, the 5-year survival rate is around 60 to 70%. Without treatment. He didn't finish the sentence.
He didn't have to.
I thought about Marcus. About Amber. About sitting in that motel room wishing I could just disappear. Be careful what you wish for, I guess. "There's one more thing," Dr. Morrison said carefully. "Given the aggressive nature of this cancer and the treatment you'll need, you should inform your immediate family, including your husband." "Ex-husband," I said automatically. Soon-to-be ex-husband. "Janelle, he still needs to know. This affects your divorce proceedings, your insurance, everything." I laughed then. Actually laughed. A bitter, broken sound that scared even me. "You want me to call the man who threw me out like garbage on our anniversary and tell him I'm dying?"
Why?
"So he can feel better about himself? So he can play the concerned husband for his lawyer?" "No," Dr. Morrison said quietly. "So you can get the support and resources you're entitled to. Your insurance is through his company, isn't it?"
It was.
Of course it was. One more way Marcus held power over me. "I'll handle it," Keisha said, taking out her phone. "What's his number?" I gave it to her, feeling numb. Feeling like this was happening to someone else. Like I was watching a terrible movie about a woman whose life had completely fallen apart in the span of 3 weeks. Keisha stepped out of the office to make the call. I could hear her voice, sharp and angry, through the door. "Marcus? This is Keisha. You need to listen to me and you need to listen good. Janelle is sick. Really sick. She has leukemia and she needs treatment immediately. I don't give a damn about your mistress or your divorce. This is life and death. No, you listen. She's still legally your wife. Her insurance is through you. And you're going to do the right thing for once in your miserable life." I closed my eyes, trying to process everything. Cancer.
Treatment.
Possibly dying. And I had to depend on Marcus, the man who destroyed me, for my medical coverage. When Keisha came back in, her face was flushed with anger. "He's coming to the hospital." He sounded.
She paused.
"He sounded scared, Janelle." "Good," I said, and I meant it. Let him be scared. Let him feel one fraction of what I felt. But even as I said it, all I could think was, I survived my husband's betrayal. Will I survive this? Marcus arrived at the hospital within 40 minutes. I was still in Dr. Morrison's office, staring at pamphlets about chemotherapy and clinical trials, when I heard his voice in the hallway.
"Where is she?"
"I need to see my wife."
Wife.
Now I was his wife again. Funny how a cancer diagnosis could restore a title he'd stripped from me 3 weeks ago. Keisha stepped out to intercept him, and I heard their muffled argument through the door. Then Dr. Morrison stood up. I should speak with him. He'll need to understand the treatment plan and the insurance implications. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Part of me wanted to see Marcus's face when he heard the news. Part of me never wanted to see him again. When the door opened, Marcus looked different. The cold, dismissive man who'd kicked me out was gone. His face was pale, his eyes wide with something that looked like genuine fear. He'd clearly rushed here. His shirt was wrinkled, his hair messy. So different from the polished, put-together man who'd introduced me to his mistress. Janelle, he said, and his voice cracked on my name. I just stared at him, my face blank. I had no words for this man. No emotions left to give him. Mr. Richardson, Dr. Morrison said professionally, please have a seat. We need to discuss your wife's diagnosis and treatment plan. Marcus sat down heavily, his eyes never leaving my face. How bad is it? Dr. Morrison went through everything again: the acute myeloid leukemia, the stage 3 diagnosis, the immediate need for aggressive chemotherapy, possible bone marrow transplant. With each word, I watched Marcus's face get paler. The treatment will be extensive, Dr. Morrison continued. We're looking at several rounds of intensive chemotherapy, possible clinical trials, and if we can find a match, a bone marrow transplant. The costs will be substantial. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of treatment. Insurance will cover it, right? Marcus asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Most of it, yes. But there will be out-of-pocket expenses. Co-pays, experimental treatments if needed, medications. And Janelle will need to take extended leave from work. She won't be able to work during active treatment. I saw the calculation happening behind Marcus's eyes. The money, the insurance premiums, the inconvenience of having a sick wife when he was trying to start his new life with Amber. Of course, Marcus said finally. Whatever she needs. The insurance, the treatment, everything. There's also the matter of her living situation, Dr. Morrison said, and I wanted to hug him for bringing it up. Chemotherapy will severely compromise her immune system. She'll need a clean, stable environment. Stress can negatively impact treatment outcomes. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. She can't come back to the house. Amber is living there now. The silence in the room was deafening. I see, Dr. Morrison said, his voice cold with disapproval. Then you'll need to make alternative arrangements. Your wife needs proper care during treatment, Mr. Richardson. This isn't optional. I'll figure something out, Marcus muttered. You'll figure something out? Keisha exploded from her corner of the room. She's dying, Marcus. She has cancer. And you're worried about your home-wrecking girlfriend's feelings? Amber is my partner now, Marcus started. Janelle is your wife. Keisha shouted. Legal wife. And she's sick because she spent 10 years killing herself to support your dreams while you were screwing your assistant. Keisha, I said quietly. It's okay. It's not okay. She whirled on me. None of this is okay. But I was too tired to be angry anymore. Too numb. The cancer diagnosis had somehow put everything in perspective. Marcus's betrayal, Amber's existence, the divorce, none of it mattered now. I was fighting for my life. Dr. Morrison cleared his throat. Mr. Richardson, I'll need you to contact your insurance company today. We need to start treatment within the week. I'll have my office send over all the necessary documentation. Marcus nodded, still looking shell-shocked. Of course. Whatever needs to be done. You can go now, I said, speaking directly to him for the first time. You have your information. You know what needs to happen. You can leave. Janelle, he reached for my hand, and I jerked away like he'd burned me. Don't touch me. Don't you dare touch me. You wanted me gone? I'm gone. You wanted a divorce? You'll get your divorce. But right now, I need you to do the absolute minimum and keep the insurance active, so I can try not to die. Think you can manage that? He flinched like I'd slapped him. I never wanted. I didn't know. You didn't know I had cancer when you threw me out? Well, neither did I. But you still did it. You still chose her. You still looked at me like I was nothing. So don't stand here now and pretend you care. I do care. Get out. The scream tore from my throat, surprising everyone, including myself.
Get out. Get out.
Get out. Dr. Morrison stood quickly. Mr. Richardson, I think it's best if you leave. We'll be in touch about the treatment plan. Marcus stood slowly, looking like he wanted to say something else. But what could he possibly say? What words could fix this? He destroyed our marriage, and now the universe was destroying my body. There was a poetry to it, I supposed. A cruel, vicious poetry. He left, and I collapsed into sobs. Keisha held me while I cried, for my marriage, for my health, for the life I thought I'd have and would now never live. The next few days were a blur of tests, more tests, and consultations with oncologists. They inserted a port in my chest for the chemotherapy. They did a bone marrow biopsy that hurt worse than anything I'd ever experienced. They scheduled my first round of treatment. And through it all, my phone wouldn't stop ringing with calls from Marcus's number. I never answered, but Keisha did, on day 3. I listened to her half of the conversation, too exhausted to care. What do you want, Marcus? She doesn't want to talk to you. I don't care what you need to say. Wait, what? Say that again. Are you serious? She looked at me, her eyes wide. Janelle, you need to hear this. She put the phone on speaker. Marcus's voice filled the room, and I could hear the panic in it. The insurance company called me. They're investigating Janelle's policy. Something about a pre-existing condition clause. They're saying that if she had any symptoms before the divorce proceeding started, they might not cover the treatment. They're talking about fraud, about me knowing she was sick and still trying to divorce her to avoid the medical costs. My blood ran cold. What? They found out about the divorce filing. My lawyer must have submitted the paperwork right before your diagnosis came through. Now they're saying it looks suspicious. Like we knew you were sick and I was trying to divorce you before the cancer treatment bankrupted us. But we didn't know, I said, grabbing the phone from Keisha. Nobody knew. I know that. But they don't believe me. Janelle, they're threatening to drop your coverage entirely. They're saying the timing is too convenient. My lawyer says if they do that, you could sue me personally for the medical costs since you're still legally my wife. The room spun. No insurance meant no treatment. No treatment meant, how much are we talking about? I whispered. Conservative estimate? $400,000 to $600,000. If you need a bone marrow transplant and complications arise, over $1 million. Marcus would be financially ruined. His business, his house, his new life with Amber, all of it would disappear under the weight of my medical bills. There's more, Marcus said, and I heard him take a shaky breath. My lawyer called. He says if the insurance company drops you and you sue me, it won't just be the medical bills. Because of the timing of the divorce and your diagnosis, a judge might see me as abandoning a sick spouse. I could lose everything in the divorce. The house, the business, all of it. He says you could make a case for full spousal support, division of all marital assets, punitive damages for emotional distress. There it was. The thing that made Marcus's face go pale. Not my cancer. Not the thought of me dying. The money. The possibility that his betrayal was about to cost him everything he'd worked for. So, what are you saying, Marcus? Asked, my voice dead. I'm saying we need to stop the divorce. Immediately. If we're still married, if we present a united front, the insurance company won't investigate. They'll cover your treatment. And you'll have access to everything, the house, the resources, whatever you need. And Amber? I asked. Silence. Marcus, what about Amber? Your great love. Your future? She'll have to understand. This is temporary. Just until you're better. Until the treatment is done. Then we can. I started laughing. I couldn't help it. The absurdity of it all was too much. You want me to stay married to you so your insurance will cover the cancer treatment? And then what? After I survive, if I survive, you'll divorce me anyway? And Amber is just going to wait patiently while you play devoted husband. Janelle, please. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, but this is life and death now. This is bigger than our problems. Our problems. My voice rose. You mean your infidelity? Your betrayal? Your decision to throw away our marriage? I'm trying to help you. You're trying to save yourself. I screamed. You don't care if I live or die. You care about your bank account. You care that your mistress is about to find out exactly what kind of man you really are when things get hard. That's not fair. Fair. I was standing now, the phone clutched in my hand. You want to talk about fair? You kicked me out on our anniversary. You humiliated me. You told me I was nothing. And now you want to play husband because it's financially convenient. Janelle, I'm begging you. I'll do whatever you want. I'll call off the divorce. I'll tell the insurance company it was all a misunderstanding. I'll make sure you have everything you need for treatment. Just please don't let them drop your coverage and sue me. And there it was. The truth beneath all the pretty words. Marcus wasn't scared for me. He was scared for himself. I looked at Keisha, who was staring at me with an expression that said, "It's your choice. Whatever you decide, I'm with you." I thought about everything. The cancer, the treatment I desperately needed, the insurance that could save my life or the lawsuit that could destroy Marcus's, the power I suddenly held over the man who'd tried to destroy me. I need to think about it, I said finally. Janelle. I said I need to think about it. I hung up before he could say anything else. The room was silent except for my ragged breathing. My port throbbed. My body ached. My mind raced. What are you going to do? Keisha asked softly. I looked at her, and for the first time in 3 weeks, I smiled. A real smile. I'm going to make some calls. Starting with Patricia Williams, that divorce attorney. I thought you couldn't afford her? I couldn't, but Marcus can. My smile widened. And if he wants me to save him from financial ruin, he's going to pay for the best lawyer money can buy. For me. Keisha's eyes went wide, and then she grinned. Girl, you're diabolical. No, I said, picking up my phone to call Patricia. I'm just done being a victim. Marcus wanted a war. Now he's got one. And this time, I'm the one holding all the cards. Patricia Williams arrived at Keisha's apartment the next morning with a leather briefcase and a smile that could only be described as predatory. I'd called her the night before and explained everything, the cancer diagnosis, the insurance situation, Marcus's panic, and his desperate phone call. This, she said, settling into Keisha's armchair, is the most beautiful case of poetic justice I've seen in 20 years of practicing family law. Can we actually do this? I asked. Can we make him pay? Oh, honey. Patricia leaned forward. We can do so much more than make him pay. Let me explain what we're dealing with here. Your husband filed for divorce while you were sick, even if neither of you knew it. He kicked you out of your marital home. He's been living with his mistress in said marital home. And now he's desperate to stay married because divorce could financially ruin him. Do you understand the position you're in? I nodded slowly, my hand unconsciously touching the port in my chest. You hold every single card, Patricia continued. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to call Marcus and his lawyer. We're going to have a little meeting. And we're going to negotiate terms that ensure you get everything you deserve, not just for staying married, but for what he's put you through. What kind of terms? Keisha asked, sitting beside me on the couch. Patricia pulled out a legal pad. First, the house. You move back in immediately. Amber moves out. Non-negotiable. Second, full access to all marital accounts. Third, Marcus pays for your legal representation, meaning me. Fourth, a post-nuptial agreement that ensures if anything happens to you during treatment, your family inherits everything, not him. And fifth. She paused, her smile turning razor-sharp. He pays for a private nurse, a housekeeper, and whatever else you need during treatment. All out of his pocket, not marital funds. He'll never agree to all that, I said, but my heart was racing with possibility. Won't he? Patricia raised an eyebrow. Let's find out. Call him. My hands shook as I dialed Marcus's number. He answered on the first ring. Janelle? Thank God. I've been trying to reach you. Marcus, I'm putting you on speaker. I'm here with my attorney, Patricia Williams. Silence. Then, your attorney? Janelle, I thought we were going to work this out. We are. Patricia cut in smoothly. Mr. Richardson, my name is Patricia Williams. I'm representing your wife in this matter. I understand you'd like to halt divorce proceedings. Yes, absolutely. For Janelle's sake. For her treatment. Let's dispense with the altruism, Mr. Richardson. You want to halt proceedings because you're facing potential financial devastation. Let's speak plainly. Another pause.
Fine. Yes.
The insurance situation is complicated. Indeed it is. So here's what's going to happen. My client is willing to consider remaining married to you during her treatment. But this comes with conditions. What conditions? Patricia listed them, one by one, in her cool, professional voice. With each point, I heard Marcus's breathing get heavier on the other end of the line. You want me to kick Amber out of my own house? He finally exploded. It's the marital home, Mr. Richardson. Your wife has every legal right to it. More so now that you've made the mistake of filing for divorce while she was ill. I didn't know she was ill. Prove it, Patricia said simply. Prove to an insurance company and potentially a judge that you weren't abandoning a sick spouse to avoid medical bills. Because right now, it looks very, very bad for you. I heard Marcus breathing hard, heard him muttering to someone in the background. Amber, probably. I imagine her face when she realized her fairy tale was ending. I need to talk to my lawyer, Marcus said finally. You do that. You have 24 hours to agree to these terms, or my client will let the insurance company drop her coverage and sue you for full medical costs plus damages for emotional distress and abandonment. Your choice, Mr. Richardson. Patricia hung up before he could respond. I stared at her in awe. That was incredible. That was business, honey. Now we wait. We didn't have to wait long. 6 hours later, Marcus's lawyer called. They wanted to meet. Patricia, Keisha, and I arrived at the offices of Chun and Associates the next afternoon. I dressed carefully, a simple dress that showed my port, that made my illness visible. I wanted Marcus to see exactly what his betrayal had cost. The conference room was all glass and chrome, cold and impersonal. Marcus was already there with his lawyer, David Chun. Marcus looked terrible. Wrinkled clothes, dark circles under his eyes, the smell of coffee and desperation rolling off him in waves. But it was the woman sitting next to him that made me stop in my tracks. Amber. She sat there in a tight designer dress, her hand possessively on Marcus's arm, her expression defiant. Like she had any right to be in this room. Like she was family. What is she doing here? I asked, my voice cold. Amber has a right to be here, Marcus said defensively. This affects her too. Actually, Patricia said, settling into her chair, she doesn't. This is a private legal matter between spouses. Miss. She looked at Amber with barely concealed disdain. Amber Grant, the blonde said, lifting her chin. I'm Marcus's partner. You're Marcus's mistress, Patricia corrected. And you need to leave.
Now.
I'm not going anywhere, Amber said. Marcus and I are building a life together. I deserve to know what's being decided. I watched this woman, this girl who destroyed my marriage, sit there with such entitlement, and something inside me snapped. You want to know what's being decided? I leaned forward.
Fine.
I'll tell you. Marcus is going to stay married to me. You're going to move out of my house. And you're going to watch while the man you thought you'd stolen plays devoted husband while I fight for my life. Amber's face went pale. Marcus, tell her. Amber, maybe you should wait outside, Marcus said quietly.
What? No.
Marcus, we talked about this. You said. I said I'd handle it. Marcus snapped, and I saw real fear in his eyes. Please, just wait outside. Amber looked between us, and I saw the exact moment she realized she'd lost. The moment she understood that money and power would always trump love when things got difficult. She stood up, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. If you do this, she said to Marcus, her voice shaking, we're done. I won't be your dirty little secret while you play house with her. Marcus said nothing. just stared at the table. Amber's face crumpled. She looked at me with pure hatred. This is your fault. You're using your cancer to manipulate him. Get out. The words exploded from me with such force that Amber actually stumbled backward. You don't get to talk about manipulation. You slept with a married man. You moved into his wife's home. You stood there in MY robe and watched him throw me out. And now you have the audacity to play victim? Janelle. Patricia put a warning hand on my arm, but I shook it off. No. She needs to hear this. You want to know what manipulation looks like, Amber? It's not me asking for basic human decency for my husband. It's you, whispering poison in his ear for 2 years. It's you, making him believe I was worthless so he'd choose you. It's you, reaping the benefits of 10 years of my sacrifice while giving nothing yourself. Tears were streaming down Amber's face now. She looked at Marcus one last time, waiting for him to defend her, to choose her. He didn't. She fled the conference room, and we all heard her sobbing in the hallway. The silence that followed was deafening. Well, David Chin said finally, clearing his throat. Shall we proceed with negotiations? The next 2 hours were brutal. Every point was fought over, every term debated. But in the end, Patricia was right. I held all the cards. Marcus agreed to everything. I would move back into the house within the week. All marital accounts would be accessible to me. Marcus would pay Patricia's fees, plus a private nurse and housekeeper during my treatment. He would not file for divorce until my treatment was complete and I was in remission. And most importantly, we would sign a post-nuptial agreement ensuring that if I died during treatment, my family would inherit 70% of all marital assets, including his business. 70%. Marcus had choked when Patricia proposed it. That would destroy everything I've built. Then I suggest you pray your wife survives, Patricia said coldly. Because if she doesn't, you'll spend the rest of your life knowing that your betrayal not only killed her spirit, but potentially contributed to her death through stress. And you'll pay for it. Literally. Marcus signed the documents with shaking hands. As we stood to leave, he finally looked at me. Really looked at me. Janelle,
I'm sorry.
For everything. I never meant for any of this to happen. I stared at this man I'd loved for 15 years, this stranger who wore my husband's face, and felt nothing. No love. No hate. Just a vast, empty nothing. You're not sorry it happened, Marcus. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry it's costing you. There's a difference. That's not fair. I did love you once. Once, I repeated. Past tense. You know what's funny? 3 weeks ago, I would have given anything to hear you say you loved me. I would have forgiven you. I would have fought for us. But that woman died when you threw her out. And the woman standing here now, she doesn't need your love. She doesn't need your apologies. She just needs you to sign the papers and stay out of her way. I moved back into the house the following weekend. Amber's things were gone. Marcus had apparently paid for her to move into a luxury apartment downtown. Paid her off, essentially just like he was paying me to stay. The master bedroom felt foreign now, tainted by their presence. So I took the guest room on the opposite side of the house and made it mine. Keisha helped me set it up with soft blankets, photographs of my family, inspirational quotes. A space for healing that had nothing to do with Marcus. My first chemotherapy session was scheduled for Monday. I was terrified. Marcus knocked on my door Sunday night. Can I come in? It's your house, I said, not looking up from the book I was pretending to read. He stood in the doorway, awkwardly. He'd lost weight, I noticed. Looked older. I wanted to see if you needed anything. Before tomorrow. The nurse arrives at 6 a.m. to take me to the hospital. She'll handle everything. I could take you. If you wanted. Now I did look up. Why would I want that? Because I'm your husband? You're my husband on paper, Marcus. That's all. You're the insurance policy that keeps me alive. Don't confuse legal obligation with actual care. He flinched. I do care, Janelle. Despite everything, I never wanted you to be sick. I never wanted you to suffer. But you were fine with me suffering when you thought it was just heartbreak? When you thought emotional pain was all you were inflicting? That's not. I didn't think. No, you didn't think. That's the problem. You didn't think about me at all. You thought about yourself, your happiness, your needs. And now that your choices have consequences, you want absolution. Well, I can't give you that, Marcus. I can barely get through each day. I don't have the energy to make you feel better about yourself. He was quiet for a long moment. What happens after? When you beat this. When I beat this, I said firmly, refusing to accept the alternative. We'll get divorced. You'll give me what's fair in the settlement. And we'll never speak again. And Amber? I laughed bitterly. What about her? You think she's waiting for you? You chose money over her, Marcus. Just like you chose her over me. She knows what you really are now. Good luck finding someone who doesn't. He left without another word. The chemotherapy was hell. Patricia had been right to insist on a private nurse, a woman named Teresa who held my hair when I vomited, who monitored my vitals when my fever spiked, who sat with me through the long, dark nights when the side effects made me wish I could just sleep forever. Marcus kept his distance, living like a ghost in his own house. Sometimes I'd see him watching me from doorways, his face twisted with something that might have been guilt or regret. I didn't care enough to ask. My family flew in from Florida. My sister Maya and my mother took turns staying with me, bringing laughter and love into the sterile sick room my life had become. They didn't mention Marcus except to say he was handling things with the insurance and bills. Keisha visited every day after work, filling me in on hospital gossip, reminding me that life existed beyond cancer and chemotherapy. She'd sit on the edge of my bed and paint my nails bright, defiant colors, red for anger, purple for royalty, gold for the life I was fighting to reclaim. 3 months into treatment, my hair fell out. I'd been expecting it, but it still hurt. I stared at myself in the mirror, bald, gaunt, barely recognizing the woman staring back.
The port in my chest.
The pale, sickly skin. The hollow eyes. This was what survival looked like. Ugly and painful and nothing like the movies. But I was surviving. The second round of chemo was easier, or maybe I was just getting used to feeling like death. The third round knocked me flat. Infections, complications, a week in the hospital. Through it all, Teresa was there. My family was there. Keisha was there. Marcus wasn't. Oh, he paid for everything. The best doctors, the experimental drugs, the private hospital room. But he never visited, never called, just signed checks and stayed away. I was glad. I didn't need his pity. Didn't need his guilty conscience hovering over me while I fought for my life. 6 months after my diagnosis, Dr. Morrison called me into his office. My mother and Maya came with me, holding my hands as we waited for him to speak. Janelle, he said, and there were tears in his eyes. You're in remission. The words didn't register at first. Remission. No cancer. I'd won. I'd actually won. My mother sobbed. Maya screamed with joy. And I just sat there, stunned, unable to process that I'd survived. That my body had fought and won. That I got to live. It's early yet, Dr. Morrison cautioned. We'll need to monitor you closely. Regular scans, blood work, checkups. The first 5 years are critical. But Janelle, your scans are clear. The cancer is gone. I cried then. Huge, gasping sobs of relief and joy and exhaustion. I'd done it. Despite everything, the betrayal, the divorce, the sickness, I'd survived. I told Marcus that evening. He was in his study, and I knocked on the door for the first time in months. Come in, he called. He looked up when I entered, and I saw hope flash across his face. Hope that I quickly extinguished. I'm in remission, I said simply. He stood up so fast his chair fell backward. Janelle, that's incredible. I'm so happy for you. I'll be filing for divorce next week, I continued, as if he hadn't spoken. Patricia already has the papers ready. Per our agreement, you'll give me 50% of all marital assets, including the house. I'll be taking this house, actually. You can buy yourself a new one with Amber. If she'll still have you. The hope died in his eyes. Janelle, wait. Maybe we could. We've been through so much together. Maybe we could try. Try what, Marcus? To rebuild a marriage you destroyed? To pretend you didn't choose another woman over me? To forget that you only stayed because it was financially convenient? It wasn't just about the money. I was scared. I realized what I'd lost. You realized what it would cost you. I corrected. There's a difference. You didn't want me back because you loved me. You wanted me back because losing me was expensive. Well, congratulations. It's about to get a lot more expensive. So that's it? After everything? After everything, I repeated, and I smiled. A real, genuine smile. After your betrayal. After my cancer. After 6 months of hell. Yes, that's it. I'm taking my settlement, my health, and my life, and I'm moving forward. Without you. Where will you go?
Somewhere you aren't, I said.
Somewhere I can heal properly. Somewhere I can remember who I was before you made me forget my own worth. I turned to leave, then paused at the door. Oh, and Marcus? Thank you. He looked confused. For what? For showing me exactly who you are. For kicking me out when you did. Because if you'd waited until after my diagnosis, if you'd left me when I was sick, I might have actually believed you loved me once. I might have spent the rest of my life wondering what I did wrong. But you showed me the truth early. You're a coward who only values people for what they can give you. And now I'm free. I left him there, standing in his study, surrounded by the success I'd helped him build, looking more alone than I'd ever felt in that motel room. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. I got the house, half his business, and a settlement that would keep me comfortable for the rest of my life. Marcus got his freedom and the knowledge that he'd traded a woman who truly loved him for a mistress who left him the moment he couldn't give her what she wanted. Amber had moved on weeks after he chose me over her, already engaged to some tech millionaire she'd met at a conference. I sold the house immediately. Too many bad memories, too many ghosts. I bought a small condo near the beach, with windows that let in the light and a view that reminded me every morning that I was alive. My cancer remained in remission. 1 year, then 2. Each clear scan was a celebration, each checkup a reminder that I'd won. I went back to work part-time, but it was different now. I wasn't working to support someone else's dreams. I was working because I loved nursing, because helping others heal helped me heal too. Keisha and I started a support group for women going through divorce and illness simultaneously. We met once a week in my living room, sharing stories, sharing strength, reminding each other that survival wasn't just about living, it was about reclaiming joy. 3 years after my diagnosis, I ran into Marcus at a coffee shop. He looked older, grayer, diminished somehow. He was alone. "Janelle," he said, his voice uncertain. You look amazing." I did. I'd gained back the weight I'd lost. My hair had grown back thicker and clearer than before. I was wearing a yellow dress that made me feel like sunshine. I was happy. "Thank you," I said simply. "I heard you're doing well. The support group, going back to work." I'm glad. Are you?" I asked, not unkindly. Just curious. He looked down at his coffee cup. "I think about that anniversary a lot. What I did. What I said. I was cruel." "You were," I agreed. "But I survived it. I survived all of it. I'm sorry, Janelle. Truly sorry. For everything." I looked at this man who'd once been my whole world, and I felt peace. Not forgiveness, not quite. But peace. "I know you are," I said. "And I hope you find happiness, Marcus. Real happiness. The kind that doesn't come from taking from others." I left him there with his apology and his regrets, and I walked out into the sunshine with my head high. Because I'd learned something important through all of this. Betrayal doesn't break you unless you let it. Cancer doesn't define you unless you let it. And sometimes, rock bottom is actually the solid foundation you need to rebuild a better life. Marcus had thrown me away, and I'd turned that rejection into resurrection. I wasn't his victim anymore. I was a survivor. And that made all the difference.